Hi there, Nigel with the Drive Wire, and I've got the 2022 Toyota Supra, the GR Supra. This is the 3-liter 6-cylinder version, and isn't it a pretty car, especially in this fetching red color, which may not be so appealing to the highway patrol. So we're gonna have to watch our speed with this car this week, but I think it looks absolutely amazing, just like it did when it came out a couple of years ago. Now there's been some changes since that original model. It's got an additional 47 horsepower, much to the dismay of people that bought the first model, but I don't think it makes a lot of difference. Those two cars were fairly similar, despite this one having a little bit more power. So new for the standard 3-liter model, you get heated seats as standard, JBL stereo system as well, and some quite nifty red leather seats. This one doesn't have it. It has the regular black leather seats. But anyway, onto the actual car itself. And yes, I know it is essentially a BMW underneath. The Z4 is going away in 2025. Let's hope this one sticks around. I have heard that there are rumors that this one is going to get a manual, more because the Nissan 400Z is going to get a manual transmission as well. But anyway, it is a phenomenally good looking car. And you know, we're all the same under the skin. We look different on the outside, and so does this. And once Toyota got a hold of this one, and they fattened the suspension, they gave it its own identity. And of the two, I'd obviously take this one. At the front, it's definitely got an aggressive edge over the Z4. These narrow, really cool looking LED headlights, and these 3 air intakes along the bottom, those 2 of these on the side. And then, this is my pet peeve, these are fake, as are the ones at the back. They look good, but they don't actually do anything. And then you've got this sort of low-hanging front splitter. You got to watch that on any low speed humps or anything like that. I've caught it a couple of times, I'll admit, but yeah, that is a face of an aggressive, really cool looking car. So the rear view is actually my favorite. I love this ducktail spoiler. I actually really like the double bubble roof. The whole car looks fantastic all around. I love this lettering right here, and then these 2 massive exhaust pipes at the rear. Now, if you order the I91 CF edition, you get an additional piece of carbon fiber on this duck bill as well. And then this central little light section here looks really cool, just to sort of wrap it all up. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't aged at all. This car still looks phenomenal. So I figured out that unless there's some special trick, I haven't been able to open the trunk anywhere without using the key or the control in the front. So let's open it up now. So I'll be honest, you're not really going to take any camping trips in this car. It's got pretty limited space here, and these massive rear haunches here make a really narrow opening. It has 10 cubic feet of space, which is not too bad. It's 2 cubic feet less than the Audi A4 that I drove the other week. And there is a thing here that you can pull up, but it doesn't come out and you can't even see what's underneath. And then in the back there, you've got the 2 massive speakers, and you can actually poke through because there's a full-time hole between the trunk and the passenger compartment, because of course there are no rear seats in this car. All right, so what sticks it to the road? Well, it's got these really nice looking 19-inch rims, and then they're staggered. So the tires are 255/35s on the front, 275/35s on the rear. They're Michelin Pilot Super Sports. Really, there's only those or the 4S's that you would ever choose for this car. Great tires, super grippy. Now the brakes, these are 13.7-inch rotors on the front with these 4-piston calipers as well. Good stopping power, haven't had any problems, haven't faded. All around, really good. All right, so under the hood you get BMW's inline straight 6, turbocharged of course, 382 horsepower, 368 foot-pounds of torque. It's driven through an excellent 8-speed automatic transmission, so this thing gets a move on. It only weighs about 3,800 pounds, 0 to 60s in around 3.8 seconds, if you can stop the rear wheels lighting up when you mash the throttle. Got to be a little bit delicate to get the best out of this particular car. So as I said, from that initial first model, Toyota has made some changes to this car. They've added these strut braces, they've revised the suspension, they've revised the steering and the dampers, and generally made this thing a little bit more planted on the road. So if you're looking for a midlife crisis car, this is perfect, unless you've been overindulging on the carbs, because this car is a little bit snug inside. Perfect for me, but if you need more space, you should probably buy a minivan. Anyway, that said, these seats are super comfortable. They've got power on both sides, memory seats, which is great for if anyone else is driving. There's plenty of room. Headroom is pretty good as well. The seats don't go all the way back because there's this brace in the back and then the hole through to the trunk. It's instantly recognizable as a BMW inside because it pretty much is. All this center console, the little transmission sort of arcade game joystick is in here, the little wheel to control the infotainment system. That's also BMW, the buttons are BMW. Pretty much BMW. There is a Toyota badge in the middle of the wheel and Toyota-ish gauges at the front, but it's functional and it works. So speaking of the infotainment screen, it's pretty small, but it works. It's touchscreen, you can move around. You can also use the wheel to scroll through various different things. You can go into My Vehicle. I've averaged 19.5 miles to the gallon, which I'm kind of impressed with because we've been thrashing this car to within an inch of its life, and it's there's a lot of different vehicle settings in here that you can go into. You can set up driver profiles. It's actually really easy to use. Doors, exterior lighting, speed assistance, speed warning, parking, driver attention control, etc. It works really well. And you can change the drive modes right here. There's only two. Keep it simple. Sport is already set up in the system with everything set to sport, so you really don't need to change any of those settings. And then normal is comfort, soft, whatever. I would suggest that if you have your better half in the passenger seat, you leave it in normal. I've heard a few complaints of this car's noisy and this car is really hard and I'm uncomfortable. So for an easy life, stick it in normal, and then you can put it in sport whenever you feel like you need to set your pants on fire, which this car is pretty good at doing. It's very short on space. You do get a Wi-Fi charger right here, and then you've got the old 12 volt and a standard USB. This is tricky to get your phone in and out of, but it's kind of nice because it holds it in place pretty well. You've got a couple of decent sized cup holders and then a tiny little space in the back for almost nothing. But that's what you expect. It's a two-seater sports car. Now, if you suddenly decide that you don't want this in the car rolling around or whatever, or you just don't want to see it, you can just simply throw it straight into the trunk. Okay, so let's take it for a drive and do as I said, put it into sport mode. I have had a little bit of rain just recently, which doesn't make it very conducive to getting a perfect drive, but it is possible to have plenty of fun in this car. Now, I would definitely suggest that you leave the traction control on, certainly on public roads. Turn it off on a track, because you can definitely feel the back end getting a little twitchy and the traction control kicking in, especially in sport mode. It does get a little twitchy at times, but it sounds really good. Got some snap, crackle, and pop from the back. This thing goes 0 to 60 in around 3.8 seconds. I can well believe it. Steering's really nice too. It's not too firm. Definitely feel what the front wheels are doing. it's really good on these tight, twisty roads. Sort of reminds me a little bit of the GR86, but with obviously a lot more power. I like the rev matching. You can definitely feel if you apply a little bit too much power in a turn that it wants to kick the tail out. It's really only the traction control that's gonna save you there. We can't go that fast because it is slightly damp underfoot today, so brakes are good too. No problems from these Brembos. Even stopping, hard stops from speed. Got some strange smells and stuff like that from the GR86. It was, the brakes were not as good as I would have wanted. This, on the other hand, is pretty good. Since the first one that came out in 2020, that was a little more skittish than this one. They made some changes to the rear suspension, and it's definitely improved its somewhat waywardness that it had before. Of course, these Michelin Pilot Super Sports are very sticky, and that's what you need with this car, definitely. I sort of feel most cars that I drive, I feel like they could use more power. This one is kind of an exception in that I think it has enough. 382 horsepower. I got a feeling that it might have more than that, just because the Germans tend to underestimate, lowball their horsepower numbers. I feel like it's got enough for what it can cope with. This thing is well sorted. It's a good car. It really is. And I don't care that it's a BMW underneath. I mean, the straight six BMW engine is one of the best six-cylinder engines you can get. I don't know why people get all bent out of shape and say, well, it's not really a Toyota. Well, you know what? It is a Toyota. It also sort of reminds me a little bit of the Toyota 2000 GT. You may have seen one as a convertible version in one of the James Bond movies, Sean Connery. Pretty much the similar sized vehicle. This is probably about 6 inches longer than the 2000 GT. But the long hood, the short overhangs, the stubby rear end. I mean, this car looks amazing. Just like the 2000 GT did. It certainly doesn't look like the Chrysler Crossfire, which looks like a bulldog taking a dump. That is just a horrible piece of design. But this little twisty bit really highlights how well this thing handles. I mean, it just tracks beautifully. The steering's great, brakes are great, the feel on the car is great, the power. Now, one thing about this 8-speed transmission, it's quick in sport mode. It's programmed perfectly, and it's as fast. You can see on the dash, it's as fast as any DSG twin clutch transmission I've ever driven. When you get on a straight bit of road like this, and then you boot it, pushes you into the seat, this thing goes. Oh, great up changes, great down changes, rev matching. Very quickly up to go directly to jail speeds in this car. Yeah, I mean, instant power available, plenty of torque. Yeah, they've tuned this to perfection. They really have. It is a fun car. Very impressed with the brakes too. All right, end of the test. That was great. It's a great car. I really like this car. For $55,000 for this premium model, that's not bad. Yes, it's a little bit impractical. There isn't a lot of room inside, but it is an absolute joy to drive, and I feel like it's a grown-up version of the GR86, which I absolutely loved. The new 2022 version of. Love that car. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time with another video. Like and subscribe. Out.